I should try Twilight. I don't know if it looks much different.
Oh, what's almost the
Bears are wrestling. It's the Bear Wrestling Championship. Oh man, look at them go!
Usually when you see bears,
Oh, wow!
Those are pigs.
Those are cubs. Bear cubs.
they're wrestling.
They're hunting and giving hugs. Aww.
Bear hugs.
Doing all that.
See, about 15 minutes to the Wildlife Adventure Show over here.
Just like me and
So it was 2:15, I think, right?
Yeah. But they're playing. They're playing fight. Oh. There's only two. Three. They're fighting. Get me out of here! The two bears. I can't forget the last one. They're fighting. Ew, gross! You get to take that? What's on one? Ew, what is that? It's water. No. Ew, that stuff? They're killing each other. Scrap of meat. One's trying to push. They want to scrap of meat. Ew, that's poop. Ew, they're poop. Oh, she pooped. Ew. No, down there, right there. Oh, that's the mushy stuff, the yellow one colored. That one's winning. Which one's winning? The one that's killing. They're playing. They're just playing. Oh God, no, they're not. Oh, the other one is. The girls gonna win. They're boys. Whoa, he's going in the water. He's going in the water. Get in the water. Get in the water. Ew! He stepped past.
And Ryan's going over to Three Bears house? I think so. The Three Bears. Ryan went into Three Bears house. I think it's a little small for me to go into. Let me see. It says here that Three Bears a walking went. Their porridge was too hot. When Goldilocks came along sampling porridge, chairs uncut. And then on the other side is where those bear cubs are wrestling. Ryan went inside. Oh, okay. Think I can fit? It is. It's the Three Bears house. There's
Goldilocks. Goldilocks.
Oh, Goldilocks is sleeping into bed, huh?
Probably the bear is mad.
Yeah, I bet he's mad.
You ate my porridge, sat in my chair, and sleeping in my bed.
Ah, scratch, scratch, scratch.
The purple cow. You want to look at Humpty Dumpty? Humpty Dumpty on the wall over here. There's a purple cow. What's he gonna do? Take a picture? Ryan's trying to take a picture at the same time I'm doing this. Ready? Did you get it? Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty with an invader.
These days they're all protected in varying degrees, not just in this country, but many others as well. So some of the population comes back in pretty good shape. Here in the United States, we have two different eagles nationwide. We have the fish eagle, the bald eagle. We have a lot more of them than we had 10 or 15 years ago. As you get into the western part of the country, and in fact the northern hemisphere throughout the world, you get into the golden eagle. These are meat eaters that do not eat fish. Both birds physically are the same size, but in birds of prey, it's usually the female that's the larger and more powerful of the two, sometimes a third larger. Males will average 7 to 9 pounds, females around 10 or 11. Occasionally go to 13 or even 14 pounds. I have a male golden I got from California. I've had this one 12 years already. They get their common name from the golden feathers on the back of the neck. Those are called hackles. And they always have those regardless of their age. Sometimes as birds get older, though, they change color. Every year they replace their feathers and grow in new ones, which is called molting. When the Goldens are younger, they have a lot of white at the base of the tail and under the wings. When they reach adulthood at the age of 5 years, and they darken up in color. And normally in the wild, they'll feed on jackrabbits, ground squirrels, snake, lizard, carrion. Carrion is carcasses, dead birds and animals. And most predators will eat that. They don't have to have their own fresh killed food every day. If they see a fresh chunk out there, they'll go for it. If they get an opportunity to steal it from another predator, they'll do that too. And if they have to, they can take larger prey. If for one reason or another the normal food supply should shorten up, a female golden hungry enough is certainly capable of killing a coyote. But they can't fly away with that much weight. It's usually exaggerated as to how much an eagle can fly with. Maybe 3/4 of the body weight on a good day. But they do have something that enables them to take along more food. Right at the base of the throat, there's a sac called the crop. And they'll continue to pack food in there until after a while it looks as though it has a baseball hanging out of its neck. Very important for their survival. These are diurnal, they're active during the day, and they roost at night. If they would feel something sizable and return the next day to feed again, there's a good chance that that food source won't be there. You have all of those other nocturnal predators out there trying to survive, most of which will eat carrion, and it might be several days or more before the eagle catches something else. And the behavioral characteristic that all predators have in common is that they're opportunists. They can spot something wrong with a bird or an animal immediately. So they frequently feed on the old, the young, the sick, the weak, the injured, the less alert, whatever is easiest for them to catch. So not only are they helpful in controlling those prey population numbers, mostly what they do is keep them healthier by weeding out the inferior birds and animals. Bad luck for the individual that gets whacked, there's no question about that. Out in the wild, the individual doesn't matter much, it's numbers that count. And when prey species like deer or rabbit or geese or any of the others overpopulate, they can start causing trouble if it gets bad enough. It can even have a detrimental effect on the habitat and other species. So it's always good to have the predators out there to help whenever you can. Once the golden gets past its first year, they can live to be 30, 35 years or more. And they're doing very well out in the wild, as are most of the birds of prey these days. If you get down into Louisiana, Mississippi, some of the other southern Gulf Coast states, they have a turtle down there called an alligator snapping turtle. It gets its common name from the ridges on the shell. Sort of looks like the tail of a gator, I guess. Or at least it did to the original person that gave it its common name anyway. And they get a lot larger than our easterns. They can go 200 pounds or more. The heads are much more massive. Very long lived, not unusual for them to live 100 years or more. I have one that's probably 50 years old, weighs around 80 pounds, I guess. Important, of course, when you pick up a snapping turtle that you know where the head is. There's a face, huh? You can safely pick these up the way I just did, with your hand on the side of the shell. You can put your hand on the front or touch the head, makes the tail go up. That's kind of interesting. Do not do that with our eastern snapping turtles. The necks are much longer. They can reach a lot further. Good chance they'll get a hold of you, and that's a bad day. The only safe way to handle an eastern snapping turtle is by the tail. Keep your hand back in under the bottom shell toward the rear as far as possible. The shell's made of bone. Snapping turtles aren't aggressive toward humans, so you don't have to worry about them attacking you and biting off your fingers or toes or anything when you're swimming. And they're not aggressive on land. They won't be chasing you around, snapping at you. The only time they do that is when you're aggravated. Here again, they eat carrion. So I suppose they're a bit helpful in cleaning up the waterways, but they also take live prey. The alligator snapping turtle feeds heavily on fish. And they have a great way of catching those. When they're hunting, they open those jaws. In the bottom jaw, there's a tongue that looks like a worm. It's even the same color. The fish comes in to take that, the turtle has the fish. Very successful adaptation for survival. These things have been around just like this, looking this pretty, for over 180 million years. Let's see if I can demonstrate that for you. You pass through there, nothing happens. Oh, pay attention. Look at the tongue they go for.
Whoa.
They don't need carrots, that was just for demo purposes. They're still doing quite well in a good bit of their range. A fine looking creature too, isn't it? I like those. The largest carnivore that we have here in the Northeast is the American black bear. They're listed as carnivores, which are meat eaters, but actually they're omnivorous. They'll eat nearly anything. And they're fairly sizable. Females will average 150 pounds. Males around twice that. Those are only averages. It's not unusual for the males especially to exceed 400, 500, even 600 pounds or more. They have a great adaptation for surviving the winter. That time of the year, when the natural food supply shortens up, bears go into the den, and that's called their denning period or their winter sleep. They're not in full hibernation. A woodchuck, for example, is. In the fall, they go down into the ground below the frost line, the body temperature drops over half, they go into what is called a torpid state. You have to warm it up to wake it up. You can actually dig a woodchuck out of the den in the winter and throw it around like a football. It's kind of neat. The bear's body temperature in the den only drops about 6 or 8 degrees, which means you can awaken them. Still advised, they have no sense of humor at all when you're in their den. But toward the end of January is when the cubs are born. And they're very tiny. They only weigh 8, 10 ounces. Begin nursing, of course, and by the time the adult female, which is called a sow, comes out of the den the first or second week of April, cubs are 2.5 months old. At that point, they're big enough to be left alone for periods of time while the sow forages for food. Shortly after that, they can climb and keep up. Very important that bear may lose 20% or more of its body weight in the den in the winter. It's got to pick that back up in the spring and then fatten up in the summer and fall for the next tending season. So it works out pretty well. This time of the year, cubs are all pushing 7 months old. Figure September 1st, that's how old they'll be. Oh, chubby.
He's not getting a bear, right? A bear, that's what he's talking about. Ooh, he's wrestling with it, huh? Oh, there he goes.
They literally do eat almost anything, all kinds of different vegetation. They feed heavily on grubs, insects, clover, skunk cabbage. I tried that once, I didn't like it, but they seem to enjoy it.